The school board meeting will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Again, the school board meeting will begin in 1 minute.
Good afternoon. I now call the March 8, 2022 Special Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board to order at 3:30 p.m. Please silence your electronic devices and remove hats to avoid disturbing others. I'll now ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for this work session.
This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form located in the lobby and hand it to the school board clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the clerk will call speakers' names in the order received. At the podium, speakers are asked to state their full name and address and to spell their last names. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout this meeting. Speakers may criticize subject matter and decisions in a respectful manner, but not people. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
We'll now begin the administrative work session with the COVID-19 leave resolution discussion. Superintendent?
Good afternoon, Chair Cummings, members of the board. I do not have any briefing items, so we can proceed with the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So this evening, we have a draft COVID-19 of resolution number 2202. I'm going to ask Ms. Jaycee Oliver to come up and give us a breakdown of where we're at tonight, this evening.
Good afternoon, Chair Cummings, Vice Chair Campbell, board members, Attorney Powers, Superintendent Gullett, and Ms. Martinez-Lopez. I am happy to be here today to talk to you about COVID-19 leave provisions for our employees. As you are aware, our Resolution 2110 did expire as of January 29th. That resolution provided COVID provisions for our employees, and at a recent work session, I was actually tasked with going back and compiling a new resolution along with a process for employees for COVID-19 leave. So today, In front of you, you do have that resolution number 2202, a draft resolution. And I was able to work with Attorney Powers on this resolution to compile it. Thank you so much, Attorney Powers. And this resolution actually amends School Board Policy 6.502, which is approval of leaves. And what it does is allows the superintendent to approve leave in excess of 10 consecutive uncompensated days. School Board Policy 6.549, sick leave, according to Attorney Powers and other discussions that we've had, already allows the superintendent to approve leave up to 10 consecutive uncompensated days. So we have policy in place that allows the approval of up to 10 consecutive uncompensated days, and this resolution amends the board policy that originally only gave the board the ability to extend leave beyond those consecutive uncompensated days. So if you look at the resolution, the whereases remain, they are still in place. And if you look at the bottom of the page, number 1 states that the school board has declared, and of course this is in a draft here for your review, that School Board Policy 6.502, approval of leaves, is amended as follows. And then on the next page at the top, the amendment is the addition of the words, or the superintendent. So that first sentence now reads, the following types of leave require approval of the school board or the superintendent. So this will allow the superintendent to, and if you look at C, it will allow her to approve leave in excess of 10 consecutive uncompensated days. And the title of this resolution is a resolution of the School Board of Marion County, Florida, amending School Board Policy 6.502, approval of leaves for specified reasons directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, in speaking with Attorney Powers, that change to the school board policy under this resolution, if approved by you, and that is on the agenda for tonight, will allow that extended leave to be able to happen for COVID purposes. Are there any questions about that piece? Okay. Of course, we can always come back to it if you find you have a question. The second handout that you have is a draft COVID-19 procedure for resolution number 2202. So we put together a resolution that gives us provisions to allow employees to be out on uncompensated leave due to COVID reasons without a fear of repercussions. And this procedure shows a draft of what the district has put in line for that leave. And at the top it says, employees may request leave under Resolution 2202 if the employee is unable to work or telework for the following COVID-19 specified reasons. And then we list the reasons there. These have in the past been found in the resolutions. These four, and with the fourth bullet being a combination of two provisions, were originally found in the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So the COVID specified reasons are if someone is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID, has been advised by a healthcare provider, which would include DOH, to self-quarantine related to COVID-19, is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a medical diagnosis, or is caring for a spouse, child, parent, sibling, or other close relative or member of an employee's household related to COVID-19. In that bullet, we have spelled out the definition of family or household member, and that is in line with board policies definition, our current board policy, and also the collective bargaining agreements that we have with the unions.
Yes, and Ms.
Hello.
Oliver, in bullet 3, it says is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a medical diagnosis, and then you stated or is caring for a spouse, child, parent. My copy says and is caring. So do they have to meet both of those criteria?
They do not, and thank you for your really attention to detail there. That
it'd be and-
absolutely should be an or.
So it should be or and or.
Okay.
Well,
I
and
believed
or.
you when you said
And
it,
or.
More than likely, someone could fall into two of these.
Sure.
It could be and or for sure. And as this is a draft procedure, we will certainly make that change.
I would recommend that we use or, not and/or.
Okay.
what you said sounded great.
Thank you. All right, so those are the reasons, and now we'll go into exactly what does this give to our employees. So the first provision is 10 uncompensated days, and we've had this in place with the previous resolution, so this will sound familiar. The supervisor approves up to 10 consecutive uncompensated days. It certainly doesn't have to be 10, but it can be up to 10 for COVID-19 specified reasons. Leave can be less than the 10 consecutive uncompensated days. Employees must provide documentation, such as a letter from an individual's healthcare provider, the Department of Health return date, or a positive or negative test result. And that has been in line from the beginning and is nothing new. The extended leave piece is new. The superintendent's designee must approve. So must is there because supervisors are not able to do this. This will be a request to the Equity and Ethics Office as the other leaves have been. So the superintendent's designee must approve leave in excess of 10 consecutive uncompensated days for COVID-19 specified reasons. If the employee's leave exceeds the 10 consecutive uncompensated days, an extension may be granted with appropriate documentation. The district may require the employee to communicate and provide additional documentation periodically regarding the employee's return to work date. So many times what we're finding is that there is a gap between the short leaves we were offering and the leaves that are available to employees now, like FMLA or even district medical leave. Some of the gaps are due to physicians not calling the COVID ongoing illness a serious health condition. And they might eventually, and then several times they do. But until then, an employee cannot go on FMLA, which those are federal guidelines. And in some cases, if it's for a child or a family member, they cannot use district medical leave because that is only for an employee's personal medical concerns or health issues. So this will allow the 10 uncompensated days to be given to employees as needed, if necessary, with documentation. And if they need additional leave beyond that, then this allows for leave at the district level to be considered and issued with documentation, of course. And if it's continued with the ability for the district to reach out to the employee and to touch base with them about whether a continued extension is needed and conversation around additional documentation periodically regarding the employee's return to work date. Any questions about that piece?
Go ahead, Ms. Orr.
Thank you. Regarding the extended leave, it states here the superintendent's designee I'm used to seeing the superintendent or her designee, and I'm just wondering.
And we can put that, we could even say the superintendent. I know that we've had conversations just recently that we don't say designee anymore. We're really, in our board policies, just saying superintendent, and the designee is understood. So I can certainly shift that.
And I would recommend against the use of designee, simply because the superintendent knows whom she's designated for those factors, but there could be questionable concern from principals or other administrative staff as to whether they are the designee for these purposes. So in their Neola policy updates, we are switching to completely using superintendent only as opposed to superintendent and designee. And I believe it's probably cleaner that way, particularly if staff are trained to that effect.
Thank you,
I would tend to agree. It's important enough regarding our employees, livelihoods, that I think it's important to be very specific on.
Correct. So superintendent, it will be, we're in agreement with that? Okay.
I didn't hear all of that, I apologize. Did we end on just the superintendent?
Yes.
Okay. Noted.
Members, where are you all with this resolution?
I'm good. The only note that I wanted to make was it does say here, Attorney Powers, in the actual resolution itself, that it will automatically terminate by June 6th. I'm assuming that's the only length of time we can have for the resolution, and it is also our understanding that by that time we should have approved our policies that will already make these changes. I just want to make sure this puts us on the clock to make sure that we do have our policies done by June 6th, hopefully, so we don't have to look at this resolution again.
Yes, Ms. Campbell, you're correct, and that's an artifact of the fact that the resolution itself can only stand for a limited period of time, and it's 90 days, which is why we've set it in that manner. If we find ourselves close to that deadline without the final approval of the Neola policies, then I would simply have an updated identical resolution for the board as an ongoing premise, unless there's need to update it further.
Right. So it is, from my understanding, it is the intent of this board that this eventually become a policy. And that's what we talked about, I think, a few weeks ago, that it will become a policy. So, and I'm just stating this for clarity because I know folk will say, we know it's going to expire, it's going to sunset. So for the record, it is the intent of this board that this will eventually become a policy. And hopefully before this sunsets, it will be policy. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Story.
And my understanding, as I've been working through this with Ms. Oliver, and I'm pretty sure her understanding as well, has been that we wish for this to maintain a seamlessness so that it's from this policy or from this resolution forward to, if another resolution is necessary, and to policy, that what we have right now would continue straight through without any interruption.
Thank you. Ms. Story.
Thank you. Yes, and in line with that, do we need to set a trigger date so that we don't end up in the same donut hole? That this sunsetted on January 29th, and there's been a lag time of getting us to where we are now. That would be my suggestion.
I've already set on my calendar for 3 weeks in advance if it needs to be resubmitted, simply because of the fact that if it needed to be resubmitted, unless there was any detail that we found was needed to be amended, we could simply update the resolution with an identical resolution. So 3 weeks in advance would give us time to get it on the next board agenda, advertised appropriately, and then voted on once more.
And that would also put us kind of on the clock too. Perhaps we can try to shoot for the goal of by the end of the school year, by the end of May, that all of our policies, if we can. I mean, I don't want to put us on the spot, but And because this one change, Ms. Oliver, is essentially now giving the superintendent the same authority that the board had, with that one change, that's the main change we're working to accomplish in the policy revisions as well. So I have no problem with this.
I have no problem with this resolution, with the necessary changes that we've already discussed. So we have consensus?
I just want to state for the record that Board Member Browning did contact me to let me know that he wished for me to express that he has reviewed the same and has no further questions or concerns.
He doesn't or does?
He does not.
Okay.
He does not have any further questions or concerns prior to approval. Obviously, he's not here. He's not a voting participant. He indicated we could reach him by phone if we needed to until he was out of traffic.
Correct. This will come before the board at tonight's meeting for a vote. So this is just a consensus to move forward with that being on the agenda for tonight. Okay?
Correct. Thank you so much. I
All right.
appreciate that. Take care.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Board, there being no further business, I'd like
Did
to...
we have public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. Public comment.
Yes, sir.
Chris Altabalo.
Mr. Otabello.
Chris Altabello, 2020 Northeast, or I'm sorry, ALTO, B as in boy, ELLO, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street. Have the pleasure of representing the MEA and the MESP bargaining units, and we are appreciative of finally getting something in place. We've been in contact with a lot of people that have been twisting in the wind for the past many weeks. Of course, we brought a different MOU to the bargaining tables, and we recognize that wasn't your decision to go with ours. But in looking at this provision here, I do have a question about the repercussions, the number 2 on page 2. As you're aware, when a person has excessive absences, oftentimes they are given a documentation of orders regarding absenteeism. And so what I hope that comes out of this is that we can look back at the people that may have experienced this and it may have needed to go on unpaid leave. I can't say with 100% accuracy that everybody's been getting these absenteeisms if they've been out of leave and have had to go for COVID. But when I hear the word, or when I read the word repercussions, I would hope that we rescind the documentation of orders if it was related to a COVID, reason. So I just draw your attention to that, and hopefully, because when a person comes into town and we hire somebody, and they get X amount of leave, and if we've hired new people this year and unfortunately they've had to go out on it, I don't want them to get a letter of absenteeism, because that puts them in a position where there's a lot of hoops to jump for something that we're now trying to do what's in the best interest of our employees. So if we can just ensure that those people don't get that repercussion, I know the associations would be pleased to hear that. Also on number 5, the sanitizing and other precautionary measures while at work, or the district rules, such as sanitizing and other precautionary measures. The association still, we want to make sure that, masks are still available to those that may want some, to use them, other PPE and stuff like that. But most importantly, it's our hope that HVAC, what we're trying to do there, we hope that we're getting, that's assisting in this number 5 here, the precautionary measures while at work. I encourage you to look at number 6 and try to exhaust all funding from ESSER and the rescue plan to reimburse the district. That is part of what that is for. And We are appreciative of the fact that our people are able to telework. Most of our people are able to telework to provide that some level of continuity with our students. I would just hope that the administrators out there are offering that to somebody rather than, because some of our people don't know that. And we're trying to get that word out that for the majority of our classifications, telework is an option, and we appreciate that. We just want that to be afforded to them as an option should they experience this. And I think we're trying to work through that, through those few hiccups that we had earlier. But other than that, we appreciate the resolution and look forward to working with you in the best interest of our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Altabello. All right. There being no further business conducted at this time in regards to this COVID-19 resolution, we will adjourn until the next meeting, which will start at 5:30 p.m. this afternoon. Meeting adjourned at 3:55 p.m.